I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide. We are welcoming back to the podcast today, Mr. Stephen Crawford.
Hi, Jamie.
Yay! I'm so excited you're here. I haven't seen you forever.
I know.
I was like, I have to get you on the podcast to see you. Stephen is the director of alignment and accountability programs and is a senior consultant at McGee Productivity Solutions. Is that still true?
It is. I'm still a director, but I'm director of sales now.
He's the director of sales.
We changed our structure.
This is from last year.
Yep.
Actually, I was like, I went back to find your bio. I was like, is that still true? McGee Productivity Solutions is a consulting firm that supports companies of all sizes, from Fortune 500 firms to small businesses, in creating cultures of productivity. And that's all I'm going to read because, you guys, this is Stephen's fourth podcast.
That's right. People know me by now.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
That's right.
If not, you should go listen to the past ones. We will link them underneath. All right. First question for you today is, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, biggest pet peeve I'd say is when people don't do what they say they were going to do. Simple personal accountability. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd rather somebody say no than say yes and then not do something.
That was actually really quick. I was like, you're super like chill dude, so I didn't know if you'd have anything.
I sure have pet peeves, but you know, part of that is, you know, I control my reaction to that, right?
Right.
So obviously I don't act out on that with people, but
you can be annoyed.
It tells me a lot about somebody if they don't follow through with what they say they're going to do.
Yeah. We work on accountability a lot, like even like follow through with the kids. Like, I don't care what your grades are, just make sure you actually put stuff in. Like all you have to do is turn stuff in. Like it's just a step by step of like, this is how we create integrity. Like this is when it's due. Get it done by then. I don't care if you have a D in that class as long as everything's turned in.
Right. And renegotiate. You know, sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, totally.
So if you commit to something, I'm going to do this by X date, and other factors come up. Instead of, you know, wait until the deadline and then apologizing for not getting it done at that moment that you know it's going to be impacted, renegotiate. That's a way of accountability too. Accountability doesn't always mean you get everything done exactly when you said you were going to do it.
Or you kill yourself to do it.
But if it needs to be renegotiated, take that step, and then you still have your integrity.
Yeah, I love it.
Because you've told them ahead of time, hey, I'm going to, you know, renegotiate this priority to a different date. Or maybe there's something else that came up that we can renegotiate that those can be done at a later time. But at some point we'll get alignment there, and then everybody's still in integrity and accountability.
I love that. I think, you know, just being human, that being human bit, like if something happens with your family or something happens and you're just like, it's just not going to happen. Right. Just communicating that is really, really important.
Yep. And you don't even have to include stories why. If you have a high level of integrity and people know that of you, when you tell them, hey, this needs to be renegotiated, you don't even have to get into all the whys. Yeah. It's just simply, hey, you know, what's another date that can work? Or if this is really a hard stop, this really needs to be done at this time. Here's the other 6 things on my plate. Which one of these can be renegotiated, right? And then you can still have that integrity and that great relationship because you're doing what you said you were going to do.
I love it. So what have you been up to, my friend?
Same old, you know, traveling around all over the world, delivering our sessions and doing executive coaching for our clients. A lot of business development as well. As you know, I eat what I kill. So
yes, you do.
I sell new clients and I grow existing accounts. And now with this role changing to a director of sales mid last year, I have consultants that report directly to me from a sales standpoint. So I have their sales goals that I have accountability for as well. So I'm doing a lot to support them and help them in their efforts in growing their accounts and finding new business.
That's awesome. Actually, I have some questions about that. So we're just going to hop around because that's what we do when you and I are here. So you have done a great job of growing a network. Can you kind of talk about how you did that? Like, I know you have a process and a system. Can you talk about, you know, how did you grow your network? And how do you maintain it?
So the biggest thing for me in growing my network, and I share this with everybody that I meet because it's truly from the heart, is that I go in, first of all, I'll take any meeting. So somebody will refer me to somebody and say, hey, you know, I'd like you to meet, you know, Joe Schmuckatelli. There doesn't have to be a purpose or intended result there. And I don't go into that meeting with any designs on, I'm going to sell executive coaching, or I'm going to sell one of our programs. I don't go in there for that purpose. I go in there strictly from the purpose of getting to know somebody and truly trying to find out how I can be of service.
Yeah.
Every single time, every meeting that I have, every call that I'm on. If I'm going in there with that mindset, I've found that I'm almost always able to be of service to somebody.
Yeah.
And that may include what I do for a living, but it may not. Oftentimes it's helping them get a connection with somebody they're trying to connect with, or they're looking for a new job and I can connect them to people that I know in that industry or at target companies. It could be they're looking for somebody that they're trying to recruit and I can help them with that. It could be they're having a tough time and they just want somebody to pray with. It goes all over the place on where I can add impact and be of value to people. And going into new relationships like that has served me well personally from a fulfillment standpoint, because I truly get to feel great about the fact that I'm having an impact on people. But that sincerity and that approach, other people receive that very well.
Yes.
And now they enjoy that interaction and they want to be of service to me too. You know, and who could I introduce you to, or, you know, tell me about what you do. And then if I hear anybody who, you know, has those needs, I can connect you. And that authentic relationship that you build truly comes from a place of service. It permeates. And as you know, you and I have introduced people back and forth. It's about connecting good people with good people. So when I refer somebody to you, it's not necessarily that they're, you know, in a veterinary business and they're looking for a CPA firm. It could be, that's a really good person that I think would really hit it off with Jamie really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you guys might be able to add value to each other's network. Simple as that.
Right.
You know?
It's funny. So I've been going hard on the LinkedIn networking stuff, and people will be like, what do you want? And I'm like, I just want to talk to you. Like, I just want to see, like, I'm literally just trying to meet people. I was like, there's no sell here, you know? And I had actually hopped on a phone call with somebody a couple weeks ago, and she runs like a dog and cat boarding place, right? This in her home. Like, she's got this little tiny place in Texas that she's running. And I was like, why don't you hop on the call with me? Because there's no synergies for her to be my client. Like, I don't know who she wants to know. And I was just like, you know, why'd you hop on the call with me? And she goes, you know, I just wanted to know how you know so many people, or like, how did you grow your business? And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and, you know, I've met some really cool people that actually could probably help you grow yours. You know, let me make some connections for you. But it was really funny because she just kind of came out and said, well, it seems like you have this really robust network and you're kind of an influencer of some sort, which that was news to me. But I was like, she was, you know, that's what she saw. And she was like, how did you do that?
That's
and
awesome.
I was like, I just went out and met a bunch of people. Like, I've just been sending friend requests and asking people to talk to me. But she's like, you know, her business is very local. So I was like, this might be a good solution. I talked to this guy and he runs, you know, this software company and they create this app, and maybe this would be a good fit for you to actually get into, you know, more vet offices or whatever. And she was like, wow, thanks. And I was like, great, happy I could help. You know, like, it's when you come to it from that, you know, it's also as an introvert, when you go into something like that, I know that I don't have to give a sales pitch, which is harder for me as an introvert and a CPA because we never taught. We're taught how to sales thing.
I'm an extrovert, right? Yeah. But I don't want to come off like that. And I truly, you mentioned LinkedIn. When I try to reach out to people, I always put a personal message in there of why I'm trying to connect with them. And then when they accept, I send them another personal message thanking them for the connection, telling them how I appreciate, you know, people in my network and learning, and I invite them to schedule a call.
That's what we're doing too.
And the idea being that it's not just about adding up numbers in LinkedIn. So you have it like, I got 15,000 people in there. What's the value of that? If you're actually creating relationship by having a call or exchanging emails, and then the added little twist that I get to do is because I travel so much on business, every time I take a trip, once I'm settled in, when I have my agenda put together for that trip, the available times I have, I'll reach out to people in that city that I haven't met yet and say, hey, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. I have availability in the afternoon of Wednesday or the morning of Thursday. Would love to grab a coffee and meet you in person.
Yeah.
So, and I do that every city I go to.
That's
and
awesome.
Usually when I reach out like to 5 or 6 people, I'll get 2 coffee meetings out of that. And again, I'm not going in there trying to sell them. I'm like, hey, it's great to meet you in person. You're in my LinkedIn network. We've had some dialogue. Love to get a face with the name and just get a chance to meet you. Some of those have been the best.
Yeah.
And what a break in the day for them too. You get some dude rolling in from Denver and having coffee with you.
Right.
You've seen him on LinkedIn, and
yeah,
it's great. You build some great relationships, and a lot of times it's just about getting intelligence. What is their vision on the marketplace? What do you see in your organization? If it's somebody at a target company of mine or existing client of mine, what do you see the next steps for your org when it comes to L&D or executive coaching or change management in your org? So sometimes you just get a lot of great intel.
Yeah, and I think everybody has something to talk about in the industry, and so I've been going hard in the vet industry, and actually had somebody who's going to be on the podcast, but he was up in Fort Collins to teach at CSU, and I was like, I'd love to do coffee or whatever when you're here, and he's like, I don't really have he's like, my schedule's really tight, and I was like, well, I'm gonna come up and take you to the Pickle Barrel then, and I was like, can you do lunch? And he's like, yeah, I can do lunch, and so I went up and we had lunch. I drove to Fort Collins.
Nice.
It was actually a great day because I got to listen to podcasts and I got to drive, and it was I didn't.
And it's shaking up your routine a little bit.
Totally shook up my routine.
Sometimes that's refreshing,
it was really
the script a little bit.
It was really refreshing because usually I sit here, or over there.
Right.
And it was really nice to go with Pickle Barrel because I love Pickle Barrel, and I was like, I'm not giving up a chance to buy somebody Pickle Barrel. It's so good.
Yeah, why not, right? Get a good sandwich. And, but that's the thing. So to answer your question, the building the network really comes to creating those authentic relationships, reaching out, being open to introductions without prejudgment about, this guy can never be a client of mine, so why would I meet with him?
Exactly.
Well, that might be a great person just to meet. And so being open like that, and then follow through. When you're doing something on LinkedIn, or if you meet with somebody in person and you have an opportunity to do something to serve them, and you say you're going to do something, do it. And that's what builds that integrity and that relationship.
I love it.
And then always look for opportunities to help your network proactively. So, every now and then I'll meet with somebody and they'll say something like, I'm really in the market for this. And, on top of my head, it's grinding. And I might not remember. But I'll go back and do my research and be like, yes, that's right. It was Joe, this guy I met with 3 weeks ago. That's exactly what he does. That's a great opportunity to reach back out to Joe and say, hey, how's it going? It's been a few weeks since we talked. Listen, I just had a meeting with a guy who's looking for exactly what you do. Would it be cool if I connect you guys? And what a blessing for that gentleman, right? He just, because of his network, he wasn't actively pursuing that opportunity, but they got connected.
Yeah, I think, one of the things I've actually started to talk to potential clients about too is you get the benefit of my network. I have a huge network, and I'm constantly meeting new people. And if I meet somebody that could work that's a good, that's part of the reason we have a boutique-sized firm is I know every single person on our roster, right? I don't have 1,000 clients. That Rolodex is in my head, and if I'm there to, if it's a good fit for your business or somebody that could help you move your business forward, then I'm making introductions too.
Yep. That's huge.
It is huge.
Yep. And
it's
anytime,
so fun, and it's fun.
Yeah, and you get to lift people up and add value to them
and
by
move
making
people
connections
forward, and I love it.
Yep, that's fulfilling in itself.
Yeah.
And then along the way, guess what? Some business comes out of it too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know. I was working with a friend, and they're like, "How are you going to get paid?" And I'm like, "You're going to get paid, and then we'll worry about me." But thanks for asking me about that. But I've found that if other people get paid, I generally get paid on the back end.
Seems to work nice, right?
Seems to work out. It's awesome. So you guys, McGee has been working on the Microsoft Teams program. So can you talk to us a little bit about that, and what some of the beneficial tools are in that system?
Sure. So a lot of people know us for our Take Back Your Life program, which is our personal productivity program around the use of Outlook, winning back 2 hours a day in personal productivity based on theory and methodology and behavioral change and the actual tool itself. Well, a little bit over a year ago, a lot of scuttlebutt around Microsoft, who happens to be a client of mine, so I get to hear stuff around them rolling out Teams as the next big thing, and it was already out there, but it was just kind of in a peripheral, right? So in O365, everybody has that tool now, and Microsoft themselves mandated that internally they wanted to use that tool specifically for all internal communications.
Oh wow.
So no more emailing, right? Just using this tool. Now, obviously, that's an extreme way to go, but it was, proving a point to work out the kinks to get feedback. And along that time, we decided we were going to create a program around personal productivity with the use of Teams. And at the time, we called it Driving Productivity with Microsoft Teams. And what we were doing was, instead of just features and benefits training like a lot of other companies were doing at the time, was we were doing some of that, but we were adding in methodologies around governance, around having an intended result and a purpose for each channel and team that you have, helping people use it, managing workflow, how to use it as a tool to have shared leadership and collaboration, and really having a purpose around it so that it wasn't just another tool and another place where all this stuff was coming at you.
Right.
Because what was happening for a lot of companies who did take on teams, they were just letting people create teams and channels willy-nilly, and it became the wild, wild west.
That's how I feel about Slack.
Yeah, it's similar, right? So what happens is now you just got all these people inviting you to all these teams and channels, and you got all this extra stuff. It's overwhelming, and it becomes another place for just stuff to pile up, right? So we were teaching them how to use it with real purpose and intended results.
I love it.
And we piloted it inside of Microsoft and got great results, and then we started rolling it out to clients. So now that is Teams is the largest growing app ever. So a lot of companies are really trying to use it for their change management and come in and say, we really want to build our culture around this collaborative tool. We can get rid of a lot of meetings and a lot of email for using this for our collaboration station, right? There's, SharePoint links right in there, so you can have all your documents right in there. It's really powerful. But again, in change management and in adopting new tools, a lot of companies need that guidance and that help. So we've modified the Driving Productivity through Microsoft Teams program into a team productivity and collaboration offering. And it's even more impactful now, and it's going great. And in the meantime, we're also on top of that building it into a whole change management structure. Where we already do change management consulting, but we're doing a change management around teams. So specifically, if you're looking to do cultural change in your organization, we can help you with that using Teams as the main backbone.
That's awesome.
So as you can see, obviously that's great for the clients, but it's also good for Microsoft, who's my client. As they roll out that technology to their clients, we can come in right behind them after they deploy the technology and help their clients get better adoption and usage out of it.
That's really awesome. There's just so many options, right? There's, Trello, we were just talking about some of the things we're using. But I do have Brandon Rains, our good friend, was telling me how he's using Teams to create all of his training. So he's doing all this training on like what he does so he can finally hire some help. And he's like, I'm making videos and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I was like, that's really, really interesting. It's just a great, they've taken kind of all the apps that we use and made, one central place.
Yeah. And it's evolving every single day.
Yeah.
Like literally for those of you that use it regularly, you'll log in and see something different. They changed the name of something, or there's a new link, or now there's more synergy with this other app, because you can really tie in a lot of things to it.
That's really cool.
Slack, OneNote, all kinds of stuff can get, tied into it, Planner. All kinds of cool stuff.
I haven't seen it. I need you to show me. Because, I just feel like I'm trying to like decrease the number of things we're using, but then I'm usually like adding something else. Right. But I know.
The key is, what is your base?
Yeah.
Right. So historically, and even today, for us, Outlook is still the base because we have the calendar. You're still emailing, even if you're using Teams internally when you're corresponding with clients. You're doing email and your task system and all that. But it's evolving, and as Teams continues to evolve and gets tasking in there, which is happening, and email gets embedded in there, and calendar gets embedded in there. That will ultimately be the hub for Microsoft users, is right out of Teams. So we're ahead of the game by what we're doing and supporting clients with that platform, and it'll continue to change and improve and evolve, and as will our offering and supporting it.
That's really awesome.
But I can foresee in the future Outlook not even being a thing, and some of those other apps not even really being a standalone thing, and that it'll all be from this hub that we today call Teams.
That's really cool.
Which is going to be pretty exciting.
That is really exciting.
Technology evolution and the way that we use it is always exciting. But when you can use it in a way that helps you be more productive and actually drive more results and have less distraction and less interruptions because of what McGee teaches you how to do it, then that's a slam dunk.
Yeah. think this part of the reason I told you we're working on like our flow charts on our processes, because I just did one and I was like, we got way too many steps, you know? And I need them visual so I can be like, where can I delegate? And then also what can we do to automate some of this,
right?
But also make it easier.
Yeah.
You know?
Automation, there's always opportunity for that. And then, is there any loops that you can cut out of there?
Yeah.
Right? If yes, and then if no, well, if no, is all your if no's going to the same place?
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you can just make a hard stop there, right? Or you can automate that.
Yeah.
And then delegation, like you said, what are the things that, the founder and CEO of the business shouldn't really be working on, right? It's not strategic. It's not moving the business forward. It has to be done. But, you have staff now. So, what kinds of things can the staff be doing? Or is there automation that can be done, right?
Yeah.
So it's a smart way to go, but mapping it out, like you said, very visually helps you realize, like you said, oh my gosh, look at all these steps and I'm doing most of them.
Right.
That's a realization that a lot of people don't come to. Like intuitively, they kind of get it, but until they put it down on paper and see it, they don't really understand.
Yeah.
And now they can say, no wonder, I feel so rushed. I feel so overwhelmed. No wonder I'm not getting my big initiatives done.
Right.
Because I'm spending so much time on all this minutia stuff. Why?
Right.
It's not moving me forward to my objectives. Why am I doing this?
Yeah. So I mapped out yesterday, I mapped out our inquiry to tax discovery session, like the potential client map. And, one of them is like, we ask people to upload their tax returns, but then they don't. And then we have to go back to them to get them. So I just added in reminders into Acuity, because we use Acuity for all of our scheduling. I've added in reminders. And then now I need to figure out how to get it to cancel. Because I basically just said, if I don't have your tax returns, we're canceling, because I need those, and we need to stop having to go back to people.
Right.
Because this is the first step in being able to work with us. Can you upload your tax returns? Can you fill out the form? And can you upload your tax returns? Those are, the kind of qualifies as the inquiry. So I was telling Emily, I was like, now I have to figure out how to get it to cancel without us having to do it somehow.
Right. Yeah,
but
after so many follow-throughs, if it doesn't hit stage B, then it automatically shuts it down, puts it into your lost opportunity queue, and you can farm that later. Right. But at least automatically, that'll move on to your system.
There's got to be a way. I'm just like, But then also as I'm mapping, I'm like thinking about like who's doing what and who do I eventually want to do some of these boxes, and how do we, and then how does that flow into our onboarding process? Like what needs to happen here that's not happening to get people properly onboarded, or to get people moved to the team, because that's the problem. Is I'm on the front end and I'm talking to everybody, and then it goes to the team and they're like, who is this?
Yeah, so a good handoff.
Yeah. So it also helps me with that piece, because that's the pain point, but it's the inquiry process that is broken. And then we'll move to the onboarding process so that we can get everybody transferred over to the team better.
Right.
So it's a whole thing, but it also helps me like get it out of my head so that we can all kind of just look at it.
Right. And, more people looking at it, you get different ideas and different, you might come up with an idea that says, oh, well, this is how it should really be handed off. And in your mind, it makes perfect sense. And it resolves one of the issues you have as far as getting this warm handoff over there and getting it, for lack of a better term, off your plate onto somebody else's, right? But Emily or somebody else might be sitting there and saying, okay, but you're missing this one thing here, right? How are you introducing me?
Right.
Yes, you're throwing it over here, but when I reach out to that customer, they're going to say, who the heck's this?
Right, exactly.
Right? So, what is that disconnect? So having a couple of different eyes on it makes sense, especially people who are going to be involved in that process and have some ownership on the results.
Right.
You definitely want to include them.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is because I do the front end, I was talking to Emily, I was like, we need a way to record these conversations so that the team can go in and listen, and then, so they kind of know what's going on. And then I'll, that introducing part is part that needs to happen too, but also getting the team up to speed. Right. So they're not asking me a ton of questions. They're going to my notes until they can go either watch it or listen to it.
Yeah. And then you generate an SOP over time, right? So you got a standard procedure that you're using. in this process. But, you know, sometimes you got to go through it a few times first to realize what is the best experience.
Yeah, or what are we missing?
Maybe even poll some of your clients and say, how was your experience being transitioned over to the team? And how could we have done it better?
Yeah.
Because they'll give you feedback you weren't thinking about.
Yeah. I talk about the team a lot in those initial conversations and make sure people understand we have a team.
Right. And there's other people going to be engaged with their work.
Because the business is really my face generally. So I've been very, very intentional about talking about the team, because we have Danielle who does our tax preparation. We have Pat who does all of our accounting and bookkeeping. And then I've also sent emails to our current client base, like, this is who you ask for this. This is who you ask for this. Like, just trying to really distribute more things to the team. So it's not all in my inbox, because then I still have to delegate it. Right. So that has to still happen. So we're still just kind of, you know, working on distributing things better on top of onboarding people better. So that's one of my big things this year, is just making sure all of our systems work. And they work in a way that's beneficial to the business.
And they're scalable.
Me. Yeah, and they're scalable. That's the big thing.
You know, the big mistake I see a lot of small to medium businesses make with processes like that is they're thinking the now, and they forget to think about, well, what happens when we're 5 times this big, and I have, you know, 4 times the staff that I have today.
Where do I want this to
How
be?
does this work now, right? How is this scaled? So making sure that, you know, it's a good solution, but it's also giving you opportunity for growth, and you can plug and play in there is always something you want to be mindful of.
Yeah.
So you're not doing this exercise every time you add somebody new.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And so, like, that's the big thing too, is what boxes am I in, and which boxes do I want out of?
Right.
You know,
sometimes that'll help you build your org chart right there.
It did.
Right?
It totally did. So I actually have an overriding, I call it a macro map, which is like, where are we now and where do I want to be?
Good.
You know?
Yep.
And
good vision.
You know, how do we get me out of those? It's kind of my one-on-one, you know, one box at a time I got to get myself out of. Yep. But, you know, right. Because it's not scalable if I'm continuing to do everything, because then I'm just crazier.
Right. Well, you're supposed to, you know, be the strategist. I can say that word, I promise. So strategy is number one, right? Biz dev, you're the face of the business.
I love that.
And, you know, and you know, the true intellectual property of the harder stuff that comes through your office.
Exactly.
Right? You're the one, the final sign off.
I'm doing the planning. I'm doing the strategy.
All the other stuff, you know, you need people to build on. And then as you grow, you can be training and developing people to take on more of that other stuff too, so you can continue to scale. But if you're spending too much time in the weeds, I know, you know, then you're not adding value to yourself or your clients.
Yeah.
Right?
So one of our first steps is that tax discovery session, and I love doing those, and I have a whole process that I do on those, but the team doesn't know about it, right? So as I'm building this out, I'm like, okay, this piece is the piece where I need to. Somebody else needs to be trained to do this, which I can train them, which is part of like the recording of doing this. But also having, you know, being able to transition some of this onboarding stuff or this initial call stuff to somebody else, because I love doing those, and I'm probably going to continue to do the lion's share of them. But it'd be nice to have somebody else that can do what I do in that process, which is just, you know, knowing what to look for, knowing what to talk about.
And that way business can still be onboarded if you're busy with
whatever,
you know, other work, or
and then people don't
God
have to wait for me.
You want to take a vacation, but you don't want your business to stop.
Right.
So things can keep moving.
Yeah, people don't have to wait for me to do those initial calls. Okay. So you were talking about some of your favorite tools in the system. So they're going to be integrating email into Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, I'm not saying that from a factual standpoint.
Oh, it's just that's
the trends that I'm seeing.
It's going to be
so they're already starting to build some tasking in there
awesome.
and workflow. So I imagine that ultimately everything that you do in Outlook, you'll be able to do in Teams.
Right.
And Teams will be your hub.
That's amazing.
Whereas most of us land on our calendar or our inbox right now, you'll be going right into Teams, and everything that you need to do is from there, whether it be direct communication, your calendar planning, or your collaborative stuff like what we're currently using Teams for today and what we're teaching people to use. So the reason I mention that is because the technology is going to continue to evolve. And if you are in the Microsoft suite of products, get on Teams, get used to being inside of your firm, because it's going to continue to be a bigger point. You want to get into it while you can in the early stages before you're kind of forced to do it. Right? So those people that were on Skype, right, that's no longer being supported. So either they have to move the teams or they're going to be on unsupported Skype if they're using Skype for Business right now.
Oh, I didn't know
right?
that.
Well, anybody who made the switch earlier had a leg up on them, right? They're already using Teams. They're getting it ingrained into their culture, using it for collaboration, using it for internal communication. And there's going to be more of that, I think.
That's awesome.
So I'm just encouraging organizations out there who are on O365 or Microsoft suite of products, reach out to us. Let us show you how to use that in your firm and really create a culture around using it, because I think it's going to come to a point at some place where you're almost going to kind of be forced into it.
I love it. Yeah, I want to look at it. We just have kind of like a mishmash of apps and places that are kind of hubs, but not really hubs, and don't do everything we want them to do right now. So it's good to know. Yeah, I've heard about it. You know, like I said, people using it and you know, building them out. But these big tools, I absolutely need somebody to be like, this is how you use it. You know, because otherwise I'm going to create a disaster area.
Well, and how does it integrate with your workflow? How does it integrate with your culture of communication? Right. The biggest thing I'm seeing is, you know, so many organizations that have these cultures of all these meetings that they're having all the time. You know, if you're doing some of those things via Teams, people can be posting inside of there, just the people that you want as part of that team. All the updates and stuff like that, you don't have to take everybody off the floor for an hour to go to this meeting. All the updates are being real-time updated inside of here. You can take 5 minutes on your calendar to go review it. Done. No need for the meeting. Right? And if you want to have a touch base, you know, do it on a 15-minute call on Teams. Everybody on that team's in there. Just put it on the calendar. Boom, everybody's in there. You get caught up to speed. Off you go. Getting so much time to do your real work and spending less times in meetings that, honestly, you know, if you think about every hour-long meeting that you have in an organization with, you know, 15 colleagues, how much of that's really productive and how much of it's really takeaways for you? Yeah. And was it worth the whole hour of your time? 99% of the time you're going to say no.
It's so crazy because I've never worked in a large corporation or whatever, but I've seen, like my husband has and whatever, and he's just like, I have all these projects I'm supposed to be getting done. I have all these matrix I'm supposed to be hitting and like deadlines and stuff, but all I do is go to meetings.
Right.
You know, I'm required to go to all these meetings. And I was like, so you're a professional meeting attender who never gets bonused for all their meetings. And he's like,
well,
pretty
that's
much.
the problem that a lot of companies have, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way that they're accustomed to sharing information, to getting accountability, to getting alignment on things. Well, there's so many different ways to do that. And, you know, that's why the concepts from Take Back Your Life, personal productivity, and the stuff we're doing in Teams mesh so well. Because the concept there is, if you're spending all day responding and being reactive to urgency in your email box and going to all these meetings, of course you're not going to have work-life synergy because you spend all day doing that stuff, and guess what? You still have your job to do. And you got those initiatives, those 3 things that had to get done today. So what are you doing? You're staying at work really late, or you're going home, having dinner with the kids, patting them on the head, opening up the laptop, and doing your real job at night.
Right.
Because you couldn't get it done during the day because of all the meetings and stuff. So
crazy.
we help solve that for you. We help you get a visual of what is happening today, and how to change that a little bit. Personal, in your personal productivity with Take Back Your Life stuff, and then how does it affect the team, the business unit, or the org with how you're using these tools and building a culture around your communication.
That's really interesting.
It's impactful.
It's really impactful.
It's a joy to be able to support companies and teams with this stuff because the results you see, and people are getting that much more work done with less time,
and they're happier.
ROI for the company, and they're happier and have a better sense of work-life synergy and a sense of true control. So now you got happier employees that are more productive. You know, it's a win-win across the board. And you have some consistency in your approach to communication and what tool for what purpose, using the right tool for the right things. So now that your organization's all getting alignment around that. And then we can come in and help you with the bigger stuff, right? Like your true alignment and accountability programs for getting people aligned to your organizational objectives.
Yeah. Well, and that works better when people aren't exhausted from all the meetings, right?
Yep, and they're you know, marching to the same sheet of music, right? As far as how you're communicating and what priorities are and what tool are we going to use for what purpose. When everybody's aligned with that, now you bring them in, you can align them to their organizational goals, and they can truly be aligned, not just agreeing to them, but aligned to them. Yeah. And now you're getting so much more of your objectives done in less time with less stress and headache.
Well, I'm fascinated.
Yeah, that's why I love that stuff.
I need to look at it. We talked about that. So let's talk about some of your speaking stuff you got going on. So you said you're doing a bunch of workshops.
Yeah, so outside of the actual executive one-on-one coaching that I do inside of clients and the actual trainings that I do and the change management consulting that I do inside of my actual clients, I also speak and do workshops at conferences around the world. So last summer I did one for the AHRA here in the Gaylord in Denver, the new hotel up there by the airport. And it was awesome. I got to do a keynote, and then I did 2 working sessions, breakout groups. And so they're bringing me back again. So I'm heading out there in a couple of weeks to San Diego, and then I'll be out in Boston in the fall doing it. And there are several of those that I do. And the reason I love it so much is, number one, anytime I can talk about, the impact of people and the work that I do is awesome. But I always bring value. I don't just go up there and just, do a commercial about McGee. I actually give them things they can implement and take out of the room. So people really appreciate that because they're getting value in there. They've learned something. They're taking something and implementing it. And they're intrigued about the work that we're doing and they want more. So it creates opportunity for me from a business development standpoint. But mostly it's just great to spend that kind of time with people. If there's 300 people in the room for a keynote or 20 people in a breakout workshop, it's always a good time.
You're making an impact of some sort.
Yeah, making an impact and meeting new folks. That's the 2 favorite things for me to do, right? So,
Yep.
So it's a great thing.
And that's what we love about you. All right. So easiest way for people to find you.
So you can contact me directly via email. That's steven.crawford@mcgeepro.com. You'll have that on the link, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's always on the link.
I'm big on LinkedIn, so anybody can connect with me there. I'm an open network from a standpoint. If anybody wants to connect with me, just know that I'll most likely follow up and try to have a conversation to get to know you. But no expectations there, so they can reach me that way. And, as far as that goes, if there's anything that you want to connect with me on as far as trying to connect with other people, I'm also hugely open for that.
Oh, yeah.
So use me as a vehicle. If you see that I'm connected to somebody that you want to be connected to.
You're having a hard time getting to.
Yeah, and you feel more comfortable, reaching out to me because you feel like you know me more now after this. Reach out to me, and I'll do everything I can to make those connections.
Thank you for saying that. I think that he'll do whatever he can, and it's amazing. Okay, last question. I have to come up with a last question for you. I did a really bad job of prepping today, but I knew we were going to do this. So, okay, what is the biggest pain point you see with small business owners with their productivity? And what is the number one thing they can do to help fix that?
So we touched a little bit on it. The number one pain point that I see for small business owners is they either truly do have to or they falsely feel like they have to do everything. And the reason I said it the way I said it is because sometimes with solopreneurs or very small new businesses, truly they are doing everything. And at some early stages, that's okay because you really got to get a sense of what everything is. You don't have payroll and all that stuff. But, for your more established and ones that are growing is getting them to let go of the stuff that's not moving their business forward. So as the entrepreneur, as the business leader, your focus should be on what's taking the business to the next level. So if you look at all the things that need to be done and you give yourself objectives, I want to grow my business 2x this year, or I want to increase revenue by Y this year, whatever those objectives are, and you look at those main objectives, you should be excluding all this stuff on the to-do list that doesn't directly move those forward. Everything else is stuff you need to be getting other people to do or letting go of altogether.
Yeah, that's the big
thing. The issue is they're trying to do everything themselves, so therefore they're not getting the right things done. The fix is to get somebody like me in there to help you identify what are the right things. How do you track that? How do you build accountability around it? How do you delegate the stuff that you need to delegate? How do you build accountability around that and follow through and get the most use of your time so you're getting the right things done to move your business forward?
I love that. I think I would just add, what are the things you're also not doing well?
Yeah.
Right?
If you're trying to do it all,
if you're trying to do it all, what are you not doing well? You know? So when I moved everything over to, we were just talking about Emily, my VA, who is amazing. I kind of just started dumping stuff on her, and she's like, how were you handling all of this? And I was like, probably not well. Right? I knew, you know, it just kind of came to a head for me. And I think that happens for a lot of business owners, but sometimes it takes those outside eyes to be like, you're not doing your bookkeeping well, or you're not handling your employees well, or like, there are things you're probably not doing well that it's probably time to let go of.
And there's also a little caution in there too, because sometimes just by human nature, some of the stuff we're not doing well could be because we're spreading ourselves thin everywhere. But it's also the stuff we're scared of. But it might be something that's important enough that you should be doing it.
That's true.
So, you know, you're not doing it well because you're spread too thin, or maybe because you're a little intimidated by it, or it's not sexy, so it's not fun to do, right? But when you really lay out everything that needs to be done and you start measuring it against your objectives and asking yourself the question, is this going to help move me forward on this objective? If the answer is yes, and it was one of those things you weren't doing well, then you need to reconsider. Maybe it is something I should be putting more effort to.
Learn how to do it.
Some of these other things should be let go. So the only reason I say that is, you know, we don't want to be so cavalier just to say, you know, all the stuff I wasn't doing well, I'm going to push on to somebody else.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because some of those things might be things you really should be doing, and the other stuff that you're doing because you like to do it or because it's sexy or fun, that's not really moving your business forward. So you need to push that somewhere else.
Yeah, it's definitely both. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of things I could be doing that I probably shouldn't be doing.
But there's a growth and there's a transition there.
Absolutely.
Right? At the start, you did everything.
Yeah.
Right? And then you start building a team.
And then we pulled back on the team.
And then you shift your model on who you're focusing on for target clients, right? So that kind of flips the script a little bit. But that's all part of the evolution. And that's the other thing. There's constant change and constant upgrade. That's why if you have set goals and keep them visible and you have your supporting projects on how you're going to achieve those goals, if things change, you consciously renegotiate them. And when you do that, now you have updated goals and objectives, and you're still having integrity with moving your business forward, as opposed to, I'm just going to let this go or this change, so that goal's not really valid anymore, so I'm just going to kind of forget it. And now you no longer have anything to measure your accountability and alignment to.
And then you get to the end of the year and you're like, crap, I didn't get any.
Yeah, and then you're telling yourself stories or excuses about, well, that changed because of this, or this. At the end of the year, it's not the time to be addressing that. If you're addressing it real time and renegotiating things and making changes and then moving forward, you're still being proactive in your productivity and proactive towards your objectives, even if those objectives are changing, as opposed to having stories and reasons at the end of the year about why something didn't get done.
Right.
Whole different mindset.
It is a whole different mindset. I actually said yesterday, and I don't know where I got this, but like business is a cha-cha. So like it's one step forward, one step back, one step forward. Like you have to keep going basically, or it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. You know, as long as you're moving. Because as soon as you stop moving, you're not dancing anymore.
That's
right?
exactly it.
So, you know, one of the things I always like to say is, you know, the best decision that you can make is the right decision. The next best decision you can make is the wrong decision. The worst decision you can make is no decision.
Right.
In other words, obviously, yes, we'd like every one of our decisions to be the right decision. That'd be ideal. But it's better to make the wrong decision than it is to make no decision, because you're still dancing.
Right.
Even if it set you back for a minute or it was the wrong decision, when you find that out, you learn from it, and then you're moving on and you're employing the resources and tools that need to fix that because you learned. If you didn't do anything, then you're just stagnant. Then nothing's happened. Your business isn't moving.
Yeah.
So sometimes you make mistakes, you take a step back, or the cha-cha, you take a step back, right? But at least you're dancing. So make a decision. The right decision or wrong decision, make a decision. And then you adjust from there.
Yeah, no decision is still a decision.
Yeah.
Right?
But nothing's happening.
And you're right. It doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
I always, tell people that, not learning something is a decision.
Yeah, I love the cha-cha analogy, because
I don't know where I got that. It just came out of, I was typing something and it just came out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from.
I'm just going to work that into mine, right?
If you
don't make a decision,
I don't know where it came
you're not
from.
dancing. So.
I don't know where it came from, but.
And nobody wants to see me dance. Trust me.
But we're going to have you talk to us all the time, because
it's
soothing. We need to get you on the call map, like reading. Have you done the call map? So they have celebrities and other people that read meditations or like sleep stories. We got to get you on the
okay.
map. That'd be really good.
Cool.
They have Matthew McConaughey on that one, and someone was like, "I just need Matthew McConaughey
All right.
to tell me a sleep story."
Go night.
It's not that, but it's every time I'm like, "All right."
No, I did hear about the things that, like you can do. You can pay so much money to have somebody like wish your friend a happy birthday or something like that,
that's
right? Like,
so funny.
Like they'll send a little mini video. You can get Terry Bradshaw to tell you happy birthday if you want. So. That would be kind of neat, too.
We should do those. We were just going to do a bunch of recordings of Steven's voice.
Who's this big, ugly guy saying happy birthday? It'd be like people would be using it as a prank as opposed to a fun thing, I think.
That's too funny. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me again. It's always awesome to come and see you and spend time with you. And
Yay!
Steven, the producer extraordinaire, always doing a great job.
Yeah, peace over there. What are you doing?
Just taking care of business.
TCB.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sweet. Oh, so good to hang out with you.
Oh, it's always awesome.
Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.